President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. engaged in a crucial meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the APEC summit in San Francisco. The primary objective of the meeting was to explore avenues for reducing tensions in the West Philippine Sea and restoring access to fishing grounds for Filipino fishermen. President Marcos underscored the meeting as a vital step in the process of maintaining peace and ensuring open sea lines and airways over the disputed sea area. He emphasized the importance of ongoing communication between the Philippines and China. During the discussions, President Marcos expressed concern about incidents involving Chinese and Philippine vessels, including collisions. Filipino fishermen have reported challenges with Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia ships hindering their activities in parts of the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Despite these challenges, both President Marcos and President Xi found common ground in agreeing that geopolitical issues should not define the overall relationship between their two nations.
Oil pump price cuts are waiting for motorists tomorrow. Oil industry sources say that gasoline prices will drop by 75 centavos per liter. Kerosene price is cut by 60 centavos per liter. Meanwhile, diesel price is lowered by 65 centavos per liter. This marks the third straight week of price cuts on diesel and fourth on kerosene. According to the Department of Energy, the rollback is due to the slowing demands in the United States and China as easing demands are in Asia.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, has reported an 8.18% decrease in aid focused crimes from January to October compared to the same period in the previous year. The aid-focused crimes include murder, homicide, physical injury, rape, theft, robbery, car theft, and motorcycle theft. According to PNP spokesperson Police Colonel Jean Fajardo, there were 31,864 reported cases of these crimes as of October, down from 34,702 in the same period last year. The decline is attributed to the agency's concerted efforts to enhance security nationwide. Fajardo highlighted the impact of the information dissemination campaign, suggesting that increased public awareness about security measures has contributed to the reduction in these crimes. As the holiday season approaches, Fajardo assured the public that the PNP remains vigilant, anticipating a potential uptick in crimes against property.
Transport Group Piston has begun its three-day nationwide strike to protest the nearing deadline of the Public Utility Vehicle Consolidation. The consolidation dictates that jeepneys, UV Express drivers, and operators must unite into cooperatives or companies before the deadline set on December 31st. Meanwhile, the Land Transportation, Franchising, and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, has deployed around 250 vehicles around Metro Manila to help commuters reach their destinations. The agency said the said vehicles would work the following routes: Novaliches to Malinta along General Luis Avenue, Shelterville to Novaliches, Bagumbong to Novaliches, Deparo to Novaliches, Paco to Santa Mesa, Monumento area, Catmon, Alabang area, Baclaran, A. Francisco Street to San Andres Bukid, NIA NPC to Mindanao Avenue. On the other hand, the Department of Education, or DepEd, has said that it will be the discretion of local government units to suspend classes.
The Philippines received 800 million yen, or 300 million pesos worth of sugarcane farming equipment from Japan. The donated farm machinery included 80 tractors, 48 sugar planters, 5 power harrows, and 48 lateral flail mowers. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel Jr. thanked the Japanese government for the donation. Laurel said modernizing Philippine agriculture is the key to meeting President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and the public's expectations of more affordable and accessible food items. SRA Administrator Pablo Luis Ascona also expressed gratitude, saying the donated equipment is a much-needed gift to Filipino sugar farmers to increase productivity and efficiency as the new milling season begins.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. secured $672,300,000 in investment pledges during his participation in the 30th APEC Summit in San Francisco, California last week. The investment pledges secured by the president are as follows: $400 million for the telecommunications sector, $250 million for semiconductors and electronics, $20 million in pharmaceuticals and healthcare, $2 million for artificial intelligence for weather forecasting, and $300,000 in renewable energy. Meanwhile, the president also received significant commitments like the development of Asia's largest AI-driven weather forecasting program in the Philippines. A specialty oncology hospital is set to be established that will enhance service efficiency and accessibility for Filipino patients seeking cancer treatment. An agreement between Lloyd Laboratories and Digifen was also secured that will bolster the country's global pharmaceutical industry presence. The agreement between Meralco and Ultrasafe Nuclear Corporation was also signed.
The Philippines is exploring a potential partnership with Elon Musk's internet service provider Starlink to enhance connectivity throughout the country. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. announced this initiative after meeting with members of the Filipino community in Los Angeles, California. He shared that he and his delegation received a tour of the SpaceX facility during their visit, emphasizing that the Philippines' unique landscape makes it an ideal candidate for a satellite broadband service like Starlink. President Marcos expressed optimism about addressing this challenge through collaborations formed during his U.S. trip, acknowledging the persistent issue of poor internet connection in the country. The Marcos administration is actively promoting digitalization as a key development focus. In earlier statements, the president encouraged Filipinos to embrace technology, highlighting its transformative power in bridging gaps that would otherwise be difficult to close.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has finished his APEC summit participation, and now he has visited the Filipino community in Los Angeles. Alan Basalyahe for the highlights.
Los Angeles, California plays host to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. after wrapping up his participation in the 30th APEC Summit in San Francisco, California. Just as it was in the northern reaches of the state, Filipinos in Southern California extended a warm reception for the president. And on the part of Marcos, the Philippine leader delivered an inspired address to an estimated 1,200 listeners and shared his thoughts as they pertained to the thriving Filipino diaspora in Los Angeles.
Pass on your love of the Philippines to the next generation and the generations after that. They say home is where the heart is. And when they love their Filipino identity, as you do, they will always belong to the Philippines, no matter where they might be.
I think it's but proper and right for the president to come here because you will find in America the biggest Filipino diaspora. And this Filipino diaspora, they continue to remain rooted to their Filipino heritage. And what better way to really encourage them to do more in nation building than to have the president really come here to personally make the appeal so that Filipinos will continue supporting our country.
The Filipino American Chambers is focusing on businesses, and there's always a synergy with what the Philippine government is doing and, our U.S. counterparts here as being the chamber. We always have our love for our homeland, and if there's any trade that we can contribute, business, and then synergy with that would be great for us. So we're excited to hear what his message are and, help our kababayans and vice versa here for all of the immigrants here in the U.S. as well.
What message would you like to give to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.?
That he has to continue his good job right now that he has started. So we will have a more progressive country. We wish him good health and his family so he can continue his work for us.
After engaging with members of the community, Marcos departed, bound for Honolulu, Hawaii, the third and last leg of his week-long U.S. trip. By most accounts, President Marcos Jr.'s stopover here in Los Angeles was a short one. Well, but be that as it may, many were nonetheless happy to hear the president's message, one which he carried with him all the way from their homeland. Reporting from Los Angeles, California, Alan Basalyahe for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Coming right up, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. visits the Filipino community in Hawaii. Democratic Party's woes loom as President Joe Biden turns 81. And Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas urges the U.S. to push for a ceasefire. Stay tuned. Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
Dumating ang taong masasabi mong tunay na kaibigan.
Yep! At kapag siya'y natagpuan na, huwag mo nang pakawalan.
Ang tunay na kaibigan, laging nandyan kahit kailan.
Handang gawin ang lahat, maging happy ka lang.
Gagawin ang April Song! Para sa'yo, para sa pamilya, at para sa bayan.
Tulad na lang ng inyong mga bagong kaibigan.
Tuwing umaga,
Love!
Tony Pet
And everything!
Lunes hanggang Biyernes,
6:30 ng umaga
sa Net 25! Let's get there! Love Tony Pet and everything. Love Tony Pet and
This portion is brought to you by Robic Builders.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. had a significant meeting with the Filipino community in Hawaii, a place where his family sought refuge in 1986.
I have to say hello to all our friends in Hawaii because Honolulu, Hawaii holds the Filipinos and the Filipino Americans in Hawaii hold a very special place in my heart as for all the wonderful experiences that we had here with our Filipino compatriots.
During the gathering, the president shared memories of their arrival in Hawaii and expressed gratitude for the warm welcome they received from the Filipino community. He also took the opportunity to visit old friends who had supported his family during their exile, acknowledging their hospitality during a challenging period in their lives. President Marcos emphasized the special place these people hold in his heart, recognizing the kindness and assistance they provided when his family needed it most. Additionally, he visited the United States Indo-Pacific Command headquarters in Hawaii for a capability orientation, particularly relevant in the context of escalating conflicts in the West Philippine Sea. This visit to Hawaii marked the concluding stop of President Marcos's U.S. trip for this month. During his time there, he paid respects at the USS Arizona Memorial in Pearl Harbor through a wreath-laying ceremony. Furthermore, President Marcos delivered a talk at the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies in Honolulu, where he addressed the tensions in the West Philippine Sea.
So I have said it before, and I will say it again. The Philippines will not give a single square inch of our territory to any foreign power.
Australian Defense Minister Richard Marles claimed that a Chinese warship used sonar pulses against the Oceanian country's divers off Japan. Marles disclosed that the warship approached an Australian frigate as divers were clearing fishing nets from its propellers. He further explained that the Chinese ship then emitted dangerous sonar pulses. Marles has condemned the alleged unsafe and unprofessional practice of the Chinese warship as it had posed a risk to the safety of Australian divers who were forced to surface above water. The defense minister said the divers suffered minor injuries that were comparably caused by the sonar. The Chinese government, however, has yet to give its comments on the maritime incident.
Meanwhile, Seoul's military warned Pyongyang to scrap its plans to launch spy satellites into orbit, vowing to take necessary actions if they continue. Earlier this November, Seoul's spy agency said that Pyongyang was in the final stages of preparation for its third attempt to launch one into orbit. South Korean Defense Minister Shin Won-sik said that the liftoff could take place as early as this week. Pyongyang previously failed on its second attempt back in August while announcing that it would carry out the third launch somewhere in October. An attempt for a third launch has yet to be materialized.
Rescue crews in northern India are trying to come up with an alternate way to rescue 41 workers trapped in a highway tunnel under construction. The workers have been trapped under debris for more than 8 days after the tunnel collapsed. JCU will report.
On the weekend, officials put rescue efforts on hold over fears of a cave-in. They are worried vibrations from a drilling machine will cause more of the tunnel to give way. As well, the drilling machine continues to break down, creating more delays. The country's road transport minister says if the machine is fixed, they could reach the men by Tuesday. But teams are also considering several alternate routes. For the 41 men, it is a desperate situation. They are now wondering whether they will ever be rescued. A relative of one of them says they have started to ask whether they have been lied to about the rescue efforts to save them. Rescuers are communicating with the men by radio. They are being supplied with food, water, oxygen, and medicine via a 15-centimeter pipe. JC Yumul for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Spokesperson for the president, Dmitry Peskov, has confirmed that Russia's President Vladimir Putin will participate in the G20 summit on Wednesday. Indian President Narendra Modi organized a virtual meeting. Western leaders will also attend the said online summit. Putin is set to hold direct talks with Western heads for the first time in months since the United States and other leading countries hit Russia with sanctions. Peskov said Putin will outline Russia's position on pressing issues at the summit. Putin has skipped some summits this year, saying he did want to cause political show to nations who are friendly with Russia.
Finland closed 4 of its 8 border crossings with Russia on the weekend. The move is to stem the flow of undocumented migrants and refugees into the country. Percy Parlade has the details.
This is one of the 4 border crossings with Russia before Finland closed it. Now there are razor wire barriers to keep people out. The 4 entry points will remain closed until the middle of February. In recent weeks, there has been a surge of migrants mainly from the Middle East and Africa crossing into the Nordic country. Prime Minister Petteri Orpo accuses Russia of deliberately trying to destabilize Finland in retaliation for it joining NATO this year. In April, Moscow warned it would take tactical and strategic countermeasures after Finland decided to join the alliance. The 2 countries share a 1,300-kilometer border. Since August, increased numbers of asylum seekers from Iraq, Somalia, and Yemen have sought refuge in Finland. Percival Parlade for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Argentine voters have gone with an outsider, electing libertarian Javier Milei as their new president. Milei pulled off a massive upset in what pollsters had predicted to be a tight race. Carlo Valdez reports.
Javier Milei!
Then plunges the country into uncertainty. His main platform has been to replace the aiding peso with the US dollar and to dynamite the central bank to do away with what is called the cancer of inflation. Milei is pro-growth, wants to cut ties with Argentina's key trading partners China and Brazil, and says humans are not behind climate change. The 53-year-old economist has drawn comparisons to former U.S. President Donald Trump, and Brazil's Jair Bolsonaro for his aggressive style and controversial remarks. Carlo Valdez from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Bulgaria will sign a new military deal with the United States. The parliament has approved the purchase of 193 Stryker infantry fighting vehicles for $1.3 billion. Washington also expects to deliver a $200 million deal of 3D radars for combat aviation to Bulgaria. If the contract is signed quickly, deliveries of the machine will start in the third quarter of 2025 and end in the early 2028.
U.S. President Joe Biden turns 81 this Monday, amplifying a growing concern within the Democratic Party. The worries extend beyond current swing state polls indicating Biden losing to Donald Trump and negative public opinions on Bidenomics. The most significant concern revolves around Biden's advanced age. Biden already became the oldest U.S. president in history on the day he took the oath, and if he seeks and wins another term, he would be 86 at the end of it. While there is no age limit for elected federal office holders, voters ultimately make that decision, and the age factor has been a persistent concern for the president. Polls, including among Democratic voters, have reflected doubts about whether Biden is becoming too old for the job. Recent polls in crucial swing states depict Biden in a vulnerable position, especially among voters under 30, a group he won in 2020. Despite Biden's apparent physical fitness, there are perceptions of his age, not only in appearance but also in demeanor, which has become a significant aspect of the ongoing political discourse.
Former United States First Lady Rosalynn Carter has died at the age of 96. She and former U.S. President Jimmy Carter were married for 77 years. She was also a tireless advocate for mental health issues and humanitarian causes. President Joe Biden has offered his sympathies for the Carter family.
But he had this great integrity, he still does, and she did too. Imagine, they were together at 77 years. Anyway, I hope they were all satisfied. They were happy, the family and I thought that they were together.
In other news, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas calls on U.S. President Joe Biden to intervene immediately to stop what he calls an ongoing genocide against their people in Gaza. Kimi Oria reports.
During a televised address, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas says what their people are enduring in terms of killing and destruction surpasses human capacity. Abbas appeals to U.S. President Joe Biden to intervene immediately to halt the aggression. He asks, what is America waiting for in the face of the ongoing genocide against the Palestinian people in Gaza? The Palestinian president asks further, isn't the shedding of blood of children, women, and the elderly enough to awaken the world's conscience? Abbas says Biden bears a special responsibility due to his international standing and significant influence on the Israeli occupation authorities. Fighting raged Saturday in Gaza, bringing the death toll there to 12,300 people, according to officials in the Hamas-run territory. More than 5,000 of the casualties are children. Kimi Oria for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Dozens of premature babies have been evacuated from Gaza to receive care in a Rafah hospital. This before they are transferred to Egypt. Mark Castillo has more.
Over 30 premature babies have been evacuated from Gaza City's Al-Shifa hospital. They have been taken to the Al-Hilal Emirati Maternity Hospital in Rafah to receive care before being transferred to Egypt. Director General of Hospitals in the Gaza Strip, Mohammed Zakut, says these babies have suffered greatly during their stay at Al-Shifa Hospital. There, all health services have been suspended. Zakut says even the water used for the formula fed to the babies was contaminated. He fears the water was not properly sterilized due to the severe lack of resources. The babies, he says, suffered from vomiting and diarrhea. The infants, Zakut adds, suffered weight loss instead of gaining weight, which leads to significant harm. Worse, some babies experienced blood poisoning and severe infections. Doctors and nurses are working to stabilize the babies before they're transferred to the Arab Republic of Egypt. Zakut says directly transferring them to the crossing and during long hours of travel would have posed a significant risk, potentially resulting in the death of many babies. The Israeli army had to order the evacuation of the Al-Shifa hospital, where more than 2,000 patients, medics, and displaced people have been trapped by the war between Israel and Hamas. Mark Castillo from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Dubai is forging ahead with plans to replace the world's busiest airport with an even bigger one. This comes as passenger traffic recovers to outstrip pre-pandemic levels. Emi Capilita Roja reports.
Planning is underway with a target of completing the new airport sometime in the 2030s. Al Maktoum International Airport will be located on the city's outskirts and replace the present Dubai International. Dubai Airport spokesman Paul Griffith says the new facility will have a revolutionary design.
We are not planning an airport that has terminals. We're going to completely change the business model for airports, make them actually far more intimate and get rid of all the legacy processes that we've had to subject our customers to for far too long.
Griffith says Dubai International can handle up to 120 million passengers a year, but once it reaches that limit, a new airport will be needed. So far this year, passenger traffic is more than 64 million, 40% higher than last year. Emi Capilita Roja for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
In Canada, the average asking rent is surging, and in just half the past year, it has increased by $175 per month for a one-bedroom space. Ashley Sakma has that story.
Rent prices continue to increase here in Canada as new reports show that the average asking rental price has reached $2,178 last month, showing an almost 10% annual increase. So far this month of November, average rent prices for a one-bedroom apartment, condo, and/or townhouse averaged to about $1,900 across the country. According to the report, this average asking price is increased by $175 every month in the last 6 months. The top 3 provinces with the highest asking rent prices are the following. Vancouver with about $2,800 rent for a one-bedroom residence per month. Second is Burnaby with about $2,700 per month. Toronto comes third with $2,600 per month. Oakville, Mississauga, Richmond Hill, Markham, and Etobicoke follow Toronto with asking rent prices ranging from $2,200 to $2,300 for a one-bedroom residence. For two-bedroom residences, the rent prices are almost $1,000 higher in the aforementioned cities. This ongoing rent increases is largely because of price increases in Alberta, Quebec, and Nova Scotia. These provinces have had a strong infusion of population growth and new rental supply priced at above average markets. In Calgary, asking rent prices increased by 14%, followed by Montreal. With rental prices steadily rising across the country, it is another financial hardship and challenge for Canadians struggle with higher costs of living and inflation. In Toronto, Ontario, Ashley Sakmar from Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Russia has decided to lift the temporary ban on gasoline exports it introduced on September 21. The Russian Ministry of Energy says the decision is part of measures to stabilize the domestic market. Russia, the world's top seaborne diesel exporter, imposed a fuel export ban on September 21 to combat high domestic prices and shortages. But the ministry says domestic market saturation was achieved since wholesale prices have dropped significantly. Russia also secured a gasoline supply surplus amounting to 2 million tons. Kelly Bayer Rosmarin has resigned on Monday as the chief executive of telecom giant Optus. She resigned after a nationwide outage that took down phone and internet services for 14 hours. The network-wide outage affected nearly 26 million people in Australia. Rosmarin said she decided to step down after a personal reflection. She appeared at a Senate inquiry into the outage on Friday. It was revealed during the hearing that Optus had no contingency plan for an outage of that scale. Optus said Chief Financial Officer Michael Venter will take over as interim CEO of the telco company. Up next, the efforts of Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ have been recognized by the citizens of Red Deer. Torrential rains doused the Dominican Republic over the weekend. And Elon Musk's SpaceX Starship launch failed minutes after reaching space. Mata ng Agila International will be back after a short break.
We're in the sky! Kaya lumilipad na naman tayo. Sino ba itong uupo ngayon sa ating iconic chairs?
Finally, nag-guess na rin ako dito. Just canceled everything for you.
Talaga, ay naku, nakakatuwa naman. Medyo kakaiba ang ating papasukin ngayong araw. The Goodwill Resort with the Goodwill Cast. Woo! Tinur niya tayo sa kanyang bagong buhay.
Mundo.
Tamang-tama, pinag-uusapan sila ng lahat ngayon. Sige nga!
Ayan na.
Ayan na. Alam mo talaga siya, no? Yes! Tatlong buwan! Kinasal ka na! Yes! Ngayon natin malalaman ang totoo. So now, let's spill the coffee.
Spill the coffee.
Yes. And we're here at Net25. Ito ang tahanan ng Corina Interviews.
The efforts of the Iglesia Ni Cristo to offer genuine care to various sectors in need was not left unnoticed. And in recognition for its various humanitarian efforts, the church and its charitable partner, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, was given commendation by the city of Red Deer in Atlanta, Canada. We have Angela Bruno for the reports.
Iglesia Ni Cristo has worked tirelessly to become a beacon of hope in helping its members grow closer and more steadfast in their faith and championing the generosity that our city in Red Deer strives for.
This is just one of the latest recognitions received by the Iglesia Ni Cristo and its charitable partner, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, for their unwavering humanitarian efforts motivated by faith and compassion.
The Church of Christ and its charitable partner, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, are dedicated in carrying out humanitarian works to assist those in need. Its mission is to provide relief, support, and aid to individuals and communities facing various challenges. These works have led to numerous commendations and awards.
In the city of Red Deer, Mayor Ken Johnston presented a recognition to FYM Foundation representatives and ministers of the gospel at the City Hall of Red Deer.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And in Toronto, Canada, days after the recognition in Red Deer, the Taste of Manila, an event known for hosting over 300,000 participants that celebrates Filipino culture, invited the FYM Foundation not only to support the community, but be recognized for their ongoing humanitarian outreach.
Their dedication is recognized for their commitment to philanthropy, rewarded for their generosity to those in need, and became a source of inspiration for many.
Ang ginagawang pagtulong ng FYM Foundation na ginagawa kahit sa man lugar, mahihirap na kababayan natin na dumaan sa kalamidad, lalo pat higit sa ngayon, kung saan lugar ginagawa ng ating FYM Foundation.
Earlier this year, the ambassador of Turkey recognized the Church of Christ in front of the Turkish embassy in Ottawa for their quick response in providing aid to those affected by the earthquake devastation in Turkey.
At such times of tragedy, your kind contribution and valuable support are deeply appreciated. Thanking you once again.
In June of this year, the Coalition of Philippine-American Chambers of Commerce, a nonprofit organization currently with 365 chambers across the U.S., recognized the Executive Minister of the Church of Christ, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, and its charitable partner, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation.
This humanitarian work is presented to Felix Manalo Foundation and Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, Executive Minister of the Iglesia ni Cristo.
Late last year, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation also received recognition during the Ugnayan sa Toronto 2022 Forum. This event gave the opportunity for Filipino communities to promote various philanthropic events to recognize 2021 Toronto-based awardees of the Presidential Awards for Filipino individuals and organizations overseas.
It's called Presidential Awards for Filipino individuals and organizations overseas. This is an high honor and very, very distinct honor.
Further recognition in Canada was observed during a gathering of the Parliament of Canada, wherein Representative Cindy Lamoureux spoke before legislature.
Now, Madam Speaker, members of the Church of Christ worldwide have dedicated so much to making our planet a better place. So I want to thank the members of the Church of Christ here in Winnipeg and abroad for all you do.
In Clark County, Las Vegas, Nevada, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation also received recognition.
Commit themselves not only to be responsible for acts of kindness, but to make additional contributions in dollars to those kinds of charitable institutions that do good in our community.
In all recognitions received by the Church of Christ because of its humanitarian works, we offer all the glory to God. As members of His church, the work will continue as this is simply in obedience to His will. Angelo Bruno reporting for Worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan, special coverage.
In other news, the Philippines has approached Malaysia and Vietnam to discuss a separate code of conduct regarding the South China Sea. Speaking in Hawaii at a live-streamed event, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said escalating tension in the South China Sea required the Philippines to take the initiative and to partner with allies and neighbors to maintain peace in the busy waterway. Territorial disputes in the South China Sea involve conflicting island and maritime claims in the region by the Philippines, China, Taiwan, Brunei, Malaysia, and Vietnam. The disputes involve the islands, reefs, banks, and other features in the South China Sea, including the Scarborough Shoal, Ayungin Shoal, Spratly Islands, Paracel Islands, and boundaries in the Gulf of Tonkin. Marcos said he hopes that creating a separate South China Sea Code will extend to other ASEAN countries. The embassies of China, Malaysia, and Vietnam in Manila did not respond to a request for comment on a possible Sea of Conduct Code. Meanwhile, in the Dominican Republic, at least 21 died after heavy rainfall flooded the country over the weekend. Authorities said torrential storms over the past 48 hours have inundated and destroyed infrastructures in the Caribbean nation. A wall collapsed onto several vehicles passing on a major avenue in Santo Domingo, Kiling 9. Dominican Republic's Ministry of Public Works said the water had infiltrated a saturated subsoil, making the foundation of the concrete wall give way. Meanwhile, another 9 people died in separate instances in Santo Domingo, as others have died after being swept away by floodwaters. The nation's Emergency Operations Center reported that 13,000 people have been evacuated across the country. Most of the nation's 32 provinces are under an alert designation. Dominican Republic President Luis Abinader has described the torrential storms as the largest rainfall event ever in the country's history. Abinader also ordered class suspension until Wednesday, citing the safety of the nation's youth.
Weather woes, including floods, heat waves, and wildfires, are plaguing Brazil, and scientists warn the extreme weather may continue into the new year. Thomas I. Likeness has that story.
Right now, Brazil is dealing with the fallout from this extreme weather. Flooding in the country's south is blamed for at least 6 deaths in the past week. Some streets in the town of Hacacelos are completely covered with mud and downed trees. Town residents have started to mop up and assess the damage. The water has forced thousands of people out of their homes in 2 southern states. They're being sheltered in gymnasiums for the time being. In other parts of Brazil, including Rio de Janeiro, a heat wave has turned those regions into an oven. At least 1 death is being blamed on the heat. A fan at a Taylor Swift concert in Rio died after collapsing in sweltering conditions at the stadium where she performed. In 15 states, weather alerts have been issued and authorities have set up cooling centers. Here in this favela, laborers work in suffocating heat. They do what they can to stay hydrated and cooled off. For those who can get there, relief is found oceanside, like here at Rio's Ipanema Beach. But for many without air conditioning, or in some cases even electricity, all they can do is endure the heat as best they can. The above-average temperatures are expected to persist until at least Friday. In Brazil's Pantanal wetlands, drought and heat have resulted in thousands of wildfires this month. More than 3,000 fires have been detected in the first half of November alone. That's 7 times the historic average for the entire month. As well as the forests and grasslands, the flames are destroying wildlife in the region. Relief from this extreme weather could be months away. Scientists blame the El Niño effect, and is expected to interfere with weather patterns not only in Brazil, but worldwide into 2024. Thomas I. Likeness from Atanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
3 boats filled with more than 500 Rohingya refugees have landed in Indonesia's westernmost province of Aceh Sunday. This is one of the biggest arrivals since Myanmar launched a military crackdown on the minority group in 2017. Julian Bukayan has more.
The boats landed at 3 different Indonesian coastal communities. They included one that had been turned away on Thursday. Locals pushed it back out to sea, leaving it stranded off the coast for several days. With the latest arrivals, more than 800 refugees have landed in Aceh in the past week. Locals in the communities where the refugees have landed are distressed. Some claim that in the past, newcomers had committed crimes. Others say that the attitude and character of the refugees is not in line with the Aceh people. Indonesia can likely expect more Rohingya to make it to their shores in the coming months. The head of a Rohingya Rights Association says it is the beginning of the sailing season for their boats from Bangladesh to start making their way to Indonesia. Julian Bukayan from Atanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A New York State has sued PepsiCo for alleged plastic pollution along the Buffalo River. The legal action accused PepsiCo and its Frito-Lay subsidiaries of creating a public nuisance by mass production of single-use plastic items that pollute the waters of Buffalo. The complaint also accused PepsiCo of promoting misleading statements about its effort to combat the pollution. A survey in 2022 found PepsiCo products made up 17.1% of all identifiable plastic waste in Buffalo River. Meanwhile, PepsiCo said their company was serious about plastic reduction and effective recycling, but it did not directly comment on the lawsuit's claim that it was legally responsible for keeping litter out of the Buffalo River.
In Paris, Mayor Anne Hidalgo says the city will ask residents to vote on a plan to increase parking fees for heavy SUVs. The vote will be the second citywide referendum on urban matters. This after residents in April voted to ban rental e-scooters from the capital. The mayor's office says SUVs are accident-prone, heavy, bulky, contribute to pollution, and have been identified as the cause of many problems in the public space. Hidalgo says the fee increase would be very significant. She hopes to send a message to auto companies inciting them to stop what she describes as the race to giganticism, unsuitable to quality of life in the city. The European Automobile Manufacturers Association says SUVs accounted for 49% of new passenger car sales in the European Union last year.
And not a great weekend for rocket scientists at SpaceX in Texas. They made a second attempt to send a Starship rocket into space, but it exploded over the ocean shortly after liftoff. Jane Kathleen Gregorio reports.
The launch on Saturday was slightly more successful than the first attempt in April. This time, the booster separated from the spaceship, but both exploded a short time later. The Starship is the largest rocket ever built. And SpaceX CEO Elon Musk hopes it will one day be used to colonize Mars. SpaceX has insisted that the explosions during the early stages of rocket development are welcome. They say it helps them with design changes faster than ground tests. It's becoming a race against the clock for SpaceX. The company has promised to have a modified Starship ready for a planned lunar landing in 2025. Jane Kathleen Gregorio for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The United Arab Emirates has inaugurated a giant solar power plant, one of the world's biggest. The launch comes 2 weeks before the oil-rich Gulf state hosts UN climate talks. Shen Kadusale has the details.
UAE's Al Dhafra plant has 4 million solar panels. Located south of the capital of Abu Dhabi, it covers 21 square kilometers of desert. The design is unique because the panels can absorb sunlight from 2 directions. As well as capturing energy directly from sunlight, the panels catch the reflection of sunlight from the desert sand. The panels also rotate to follow the sun, and robotic cleaning modules keep them clear of sand and dust. The plant is expected to reduce carbon emissions by 2 million tons a year, the equivalent of taking 800,000 cars off the road. While the UAE has a goal of achieving net zero domestic carbon emissions by 2050, it also plans to increase crude oil production from 3 million to 5 million barrels a day over the next 3 years. Emissions from oil exports are not included in domestic carbon tallies. Shen Kadusale from Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Coming right up, Napoleon Bonaparte's hat sets an auction record just in time for his big screen debut. Max Verstappen's dominance over the F1 continues on the podium of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. And the Billboard Music Awards welcomes artists old and new. Catch more news and sports and entertainment when we return.
Sa dami ng problema, parang ang hirap ng huminga, di ba? Minsan, pakiramdam mo, hopeless na. Kaya dapat ihayag ang saloobin, himayin ang hinaing, alamin ang pwedeng gawin. Mag-reality check tayo.
Aaksyon sa lahat ng problema. Walang uurungang reklamo. Re-responde anumang sitwasyon. Kung kayo po ay may sumbong, mag-text lamang po sa 0915-415-1035. Mag-email din sa responde@net25.com. Pwede rin kayo magpadala ng inyong po mensahe sa ating pong Facebook page at Net25TV. Walang imposible at lahat may solusyon sa mga totoong certified e-responder.
A court in California sentenced a male nanny to over 700 years in prison for sexually assaulting 16 young boys under his care. The court found 34-year-old Matthew Antonio Zagzewski guilty of dozens of charges, including sexually assaulting boys between the ages of 2 and 12. He had a website calling himself the Original Sitter Buddy, where he portrayed himself as a nanny, providing services like mentorships, big brother relationships, and overnight and vacationing babysitting. Zagzewski carried out a sordid campaign of abuse from 2014 until his arrest in 2019, where many of his crimes were filmed. He was convicted of all 34 felonies and sentenced to 707 years of life imprisonment plus 2 years and 8 months.
A two-cornered hat worn by Napoleon Bonaparte during his reign as a French emperor has set a new record by fetching 1.9 million euros, or that's about $2.1 million, at an auction in Paris. The black bicorn beaver felt hat was initially estimated to be worth about $650,000 to $870,000. This new record price surpasses the $2 million paid for another of Napoleon's hats in 2014. And only 20 of Napoleon's hats are believed to have survived out of the 120 he is thought to have owned in his lifetime. The heightened interest and sale price are attributed in part to the anticipation surrounding the release of Ridley Scott's Napoleon biopic, starring Joaquin Phoenix this month. Napoleon's practice of wearing his hat sideways to be easily distinguishable on the battlefield contributed to the creation of one of the most recognizable brands in history, a legacy that has endured for over 200 years since his death.
Meanwhile, Max Verstappen emerged on top at the end of an action-packed Las Vegas Grand Prix and claiming the 18th win of his record-breaking season.
Standing today, Leclerc, but not quite outstanding enough.
Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas!
The Red Bull driver, wearing a race suit inspired by Elvis Presley, sang the King of Rock and Roll's Viva Las Vegas song as he crossed under the checkered flag waved by Justin Bieber. To what has been the most competitive event of the season, Verstappen overcame obstacles including a 5-second penalty to power to victory, beating Ferrari rival Charles Leclerc and Red Bull team Matt Sergio Perez. With the feat, Verstappen became the first man to win 3 races in the same country in a season and is now third on the all-time list for career wins, proving himself to be on par with the greats like Sebastian Vettel and behind only Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton.
The The Billboard Music Awards, which streamed live on bbmas.watch as well as on the Billboard social channels, concluded Sunday with Morgan Wallen emerging as the biggest winner of the night. Catherine Ortula has the scoop.
The Billboard Music Awards, or the BBMAs, was revamped this year, delivering a new awards show concept treating fans with performances from around the globe. The awards show also featured small, intimate celebrations with the winners, interviews and behind-the-scenes clips, plus it introduced 9 new categories. American country music singer and songwriter Morgan Wallen emerged as the top winner with 11 wins, while Taylor Swift was the biggest female winner with 10 prizes, including the Top Artist Award. Other big winners were Drake, SZA, and Zach Bryan. K-pop stars also dazzled the award show with New Jeans, the 4th-generation rookie group winning the prestigious Top Global K-pop Artist Award, while Jungkook's single 7 won the Top Global K-pop Song, one of Billboard's new categories. Meanwhile, the biggest performances of the night came from Mariah Carey, Latin Grammy winner Karol G, Morgan Wallen, Stray Kids, Peso Pluma, David Guetta, Tate McRae, and the hottest K-pop group today, New Jeans. Catherine Ortula for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
And to start the week, here's a quote from Leigh Brown, American politician and motivational speaker. Our ability to handle life's challenges is a measure of our strength of character.
That is so true. Whatever you go through in life, if you are able to emerge successful and you survived it, you pull through, that is a test of character.
And as they say, you won't be given a challenge if you cannot handle that.
That's
right?
true. And when you speak about challenges, you're not talking only about difficulties. You are also talking about handling, huge blessings such as a big amount of money, let's say, or a potential for power.
Are we manifesting it this Monday?
Let's manifest it this Monday.
And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Ricky Mathay.
I am Nina Richie Alagao-Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International, your trusted news source, connecting you to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.